Welcome fellow adventurers, I am Fox and in this video I will be covering Dark Knight's Law, wielder of the Kriegsmesser and Vidiant. If you like this video and would like to see more videos like this, do not forget to like and follow my channel. Disclaimer. This is not my voice. Dark Knights fight with the Kriegsmesser and magic. They often jump to an enemy and strike blows with the fearsome Kriegsmesser. They can use magic from mid-range and long distances for more damage. After awakening, they can use the Vidiant to freely switch between close and ranged attacks. The Dark Knight is a member of the Veda, one of the main factions among the children of Sylvia, the goddess that created them. As followers of the moon, they are in opposition to the Ganel, followers of the sun. Note that Rangers are of the Ganel faction. They refused to fall in line. They only stopped after years of wandering, when they arrived in a barren wasteland. Considering themselves to be noble guardians of their homeland, and proud descendants of the goddess, they dreamt of returning home one day. Thus, there wasn't a day that went by without training, as they awaited to return to Camasylvia as the rightful guardians. One day the little girl awoke from her sleep sweaty and exhausted. Nightmares kept haunting her. The image of a gigantic, swaying tree was lodged in her mind. The tree seemed to be screaming in pain, while ablaze with fire. The destructive force, enough to scorch life out of the land. When the conflagration had swept over the four corners of the lands, there was a figure who stood before her and looked down. The little girl tried to get a better look at her mysterious tormentor, only for him to vanish out of her mind's eye. When she finally came to, she told of her visions to her sisters. They could no longer keep ignoring her prophetic dreams. They simply had to prepare for the worst to come, yet another catastrophe. They would first have to send a delegation to the Kama Grana Council. The sisters tried to come up with a way to do this, but even until recently, the Ganel who had been in conflict with the Ahib gave them the cold shoulder. Over the years Camasylvia seemed to be recovering its normal state, but the rift between the Veda and Ganel didn't seem to be healing. The little girl insisted someone had to prevent the calamity. But she knew all too well that this far away from the Camasylv, she wouldn't be able to use the powers of the spirits of nature to the fullest. She reminded herself of the terrifying presence that felt so real in her nightmare. To defeat it, she just needed more power. There were many who opposed her. She was criticized for risking the very fate of the land. Her opponents called for more conservative techniques to amplify, yet delicately control the energy of nature, while sticking with tried and tested methods. Before the catastrophe would even strike, it would seem the various factions were more divided than ever. Yet rumors travel fast and a few Veda from the land of the Thornbush came to visit the little girl. They were the Ahib who claimed to have obtained much greater power. And this was true. They had changed, so much that they were no longer recognizable as their erstwhile sisters. These Ahib had accepted the powers of the black spirits that had once tried to take over their homes. According to the Ahib, the energy of the black spirit was a bottomless wellspring. But something was strange in their demeanor. They didn't seem to be acting out of their own will, but as if they were being controlled by a greater force. The powers of the Dark Knight, Veda to be exact, resembled that of the Black Spirit. As the Veda overreached and took the energy of the spirits, the Black Spirit fed off and controlled their minds. Some would go insane as they were completely possessed by the Black Spirits. Those who gave in to the overwhelming powers of darkness shook in pain, or would attack anything in sight. Even those who survived the madness seemed to have lost their will and the ability to think on their own. Their eyes would glare with desire and murderous intent. Fortunately, not all efforts were in vain. The new experimental Vidiant weapon allowed delicate control of the energy of the black spirits. And this weapon was the most effective against those who were corrupted by the black spirit. The little girl was still struggling against the corrupting influence of the black spirit. If she were to be overwhelmed by the dark power, everything would be lost. She couldn't lower her guard. The black spirit would try to seduce her, and would strike, and utterly consume her, if she would falter for just a moment. Time had flown by, maybe the lands has already turned to ashes and ruin. The little girl had finally found the root of the black spirit, in its deepest and darkest reaches. There she would meet a dark reflection of herself, a dark test to prove herself worthy. When the black figure reached out its hand, it vanished like the dust in the wind. The little girl could feel something in her hand. On that day, on the horizon of the wasteland shone a ray of light breaking through the darkness, as if a second sun has formed. When she opened her eyes, the little girl could not remember her ordeal in the deepest root of the black spirit. The only thing she could recollect was that a catastrophe was on its way. The little girl whispered to herself, I must protect Camasylvia. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more lore on different classes of Black Desert Online, do not forget to like and subscribe. Let's aim for 100 likes. Thanks and God bless you all.